the boss jumped out of his house.
My name is Barbara Plummer, and for many years, I was Miss Barbara. Miss Barbara's role in Cleveland's history had to do with television history. My children were watching a program on television, and there was a public service announcement that asked if there was anyone who might be interested in working with children on television, and I went right to the telephone and I called Henderson 2-1500. It was Channel 5 WEWS. So I did do the initial interview, and we were told that we would be called back if there was to be another interview the next day. My husband thought it was kind of amusing that I wanted to see what a television station looked like, but his advice was, don't come back with the job. I said, I can't promise anything. I was waiting at home and I was hoping I would be called back. The phone rang in the middle of dinner, and it was the television station saying that they would like me to come back for a second interview. We were asked to pretend that we were playing with children. And I was very lucky because my children had played with the Romper Room school teacher when we lived in Massachusetts. They watched it every morning. So I just pretended that we were playing a game, and I knew some of the Romper Room games, and it was a piece of cake. After we did it, we were sitting in a room, and the two men from Baltimore who were there choosing said, well, we've made our choice. Do any of you have any questions? And I said, well, if it should be I would have to make a phone call. I have to check with my husband. And he said, well, honey, you better make that phone call because it's you we've chosen. I mean, you've got to remember, this was 1950s. This wasn't today when we could just say, I'm doing it. When I took the job as Romper Room teacher, I was very forthright and told the Channel 5 people that my family had to come first and that I would have to be home in time every day to pick up my children and give them lunch. The station was very, very good. They really were. I think they respected the fact that I could do this job and I could do it well, but that I also wanted to be the best mother I could be. Romper Room was very well received. It was made known before we went on the air that we would need children. I held interviews with children. I would have about 15 to 20 children would come in at a time. And that gave me a chance to see how they reacted with each other, how they reacted with me, if they would take direction, if they wouldn't.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
We always started our day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, that was very important in those days, and the children loved the honor of holding the flag. After we did that, we would sit down at our desks, and I had a period that I liked to kind of break the ice and ask them if anybody had anything to tell or to show, to share with us. And one morning, he was a darling little boy, and he was very, very excited. And I asked him, what did he have to share with us? And he said, well, you know, my mom's having another baby. I said, yes, isn't that wonderful? Well, I guess so, he says, but my dad said he's afraid it's going to be an elephant because it's taking so long. Well, I tell you, that just about broke me up. That was just so typical of the sort of thing that children hear, interpret, and repeat. We would do bend and stretch, which was exercising. Oh, yes, but I don't think I can sing it, but I can tell you the words. Bend and stretch, reach for the stars. There goes Jupiter, here comes Mars. That was one of the things that Romper Room stressed. They wanted to have the children at home get up, join in the activities. And so I would say, now boys and girls at home, you know this song. Why don't you sing it with us? It was definitely segmented between desk work, games, thinking, and lessons. We had a character called Mr. Doobie, and Mr. Doobie always carried a message. Do be a plate cleaner. Don't be a food leaver. It was different things for children to mind their manners, things that children need to learn and be reminded of.
We're going to fold our hands and say, God is great.
We said grace before we had our milk and cookies every day. The toys we used. We had stick horses, Romper Room Broncos. We had punch balls, the safety chief cars. As the show increased in popularity, the drawer of my desk became fuller and fuller of names of children who wanted to be on the show. It got to the point where it was almost overwhelming because I frankly didn't think I could live long enough to take care of all those children. Over the years, I would say that we had roughly 3,000 children. Well, the popularity of the show was always there, but we did go off the air for several months because the participation by sponsors was at an all-time low. I was crushed, and so were the children, and so were the mothers. And there was enough hue and cry from my audience that we went back on the air, and that was wonderful. I would try to bring as much local color, such as zoo animals and visits to the zoo. And if it was book week, I brought the librarian from the Cleveland Library to talk about children's books. We had the Cleveland Fire Station. They brought their truck down. I tried very hard to do as much as I could with local people. The magic mirror was probably the most exciting part of the day's activities on Romper Room. At least it was for the children at home, because they just sat there and waited for me to see them. The magic mirror was my vehicle for being able to look through the eye of the camera and see my children and my friends at home. And I had lists of names of friends, drawer full of lists of names of friends, and yet there were always those I missed. It was magic. What can I tell you? It was magic. This is my magic mirror, and it still has magic. And I'm going to prove it to you because I'm going to see many of you out there, so please put on your good smiles, your doobie smiles, because you just might be seen. Romper bumper, stomper boo. Tell me, tell me, tell me do. Magic mirror, tell me today. Did all my friends have fun at play? I see my friends Heather and Michael. Good morning, Jack. And there's Danielle and Mary. I see Susan and Michelle. And oh, everyone, we had such a good time today. We'll see you another day in the Romper Room School. The magic mirror was very, very special to the children who watched Romper Room, and they really wanted their name to be said. I think it was so they knew at home that they were doing what we were doing and that they were part of it. When Romper Room was over, there was a big void in my life, and I had to decide what it was I wanted to do. I decided that an arts enrichment program for children would be something I could do, that I could take into different school systems. My love has always been children, but there's other things to do too, so I got very involved as a volunteer at the Cleveland Playhouse, the Western Reserve Historical Society. I felt I was helping institutions that help the cultural level of Cleveland. Who do I see when I look in the mirror? Well, I see a person, a woman, Miss Barbara, who has had many wonderful memories, experiences, and someone who has gained more from what she did than she could ever have expected to gain.